JAMARIA Sessions was a 9-year-old little girl who suffered horrible injuries at the hand of her stepmother and her father. And I use air quotes on both because this guy, Lawan, was her dad, her biological dad, but I mean that, a father doesn't do these things, so he really shouldn't have that title. And the stepmother was never married to her father. I believe her name is Tyshell or some other stupid bullshit. She was never married to the father, but just went ahead and elected to call herself this child's mother, this innocent child. Now, briefly about the child, because I'm sure it's all over the internet. And I say briefly because when I heard about this little girl's story, and whenever I hear about children particularly being hurt or harmed and having their life ended as a result of abuse, narcissistic abuse, borderline personality abuse. When I hear about these things, I'm fascinated by them, but I can only delve so deep because it's children and it breaks my heart. So I'm not going to go into all the details. I'm just going to give you enough of a taste. If you want to go ahead and look this case up, if you have the stomach for it, again, her name is JAMARIA Sessions. I believe it's JAMARIA Sessions, Sessions, 9 years old. So JAMARIA Sessions was born in 2015. Her biological mother unfortunately succumbed to heart failure at around 36 years old after having fought and beat leukemia. So this woman actually fought her illness, but I guess it took so much stress or added so much stress to her body that she couldn't make it, right? So this little girl is already down one parent, already hurting, grieving, missing her mother, the way any child would. The way any child would be heartbroken. So her father, who's in prison at this point, Mr. Lawan, he gets out of prison, and because he wants to see JAMARIA and JAMARIA's little sister, they don't mention her name because she's a minor and still alive, he wanted to see them and get their social security check that was associated with them. He gets out of prison, circumvents their maternal grandmother's wishes because she knew he was a piece of garbage and was trying to get custody of the girls. He goes to their school, fresh out the joint, him and Tyshell, and they go and they pick these fucking little girls up, right? And take them to Tyshell's house. And then the father promptly fucks off to go around, chase pussy, do dirt, do shit that recidivistic jail bums do. The opposite of what they should do. That's what he went off to do. The opposite of what he should have done, right? So Tyshell is now taking care of JAMARIA and her little sister. And Tyshell, at one point, was Lawan's other woman, right? No big surprise there, right? So she was the other woman to JAMARIA's mother, the mother who passed away as a result of heart failure. And during the course of them, her being the main chick and Tyshell being the side chick, Tyshell had a restraining order put on her by this woman who passed away because she was making threats, death threats. I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna find you. He's my man now. Blah, blah, blah. That goofy shit. That goofy high school shit that people like to engage in, and people get a lot of ego out of. So there should have never been a question that these girls should have never been around this woman. Because if you're going to threaten to off their mother, what are you going to do to a helpless little kid? Two helpless little kids. He gets them from the school and leaves the kids with Taishal, who had threatened to end their mother's life, okay? All right, we're halfway home. During the course of this girl staying with this family, because Taishal had 4 kids of her own, because these people, for whatever reason, they're pathetic, but they're never childless. They're pathetic, but there's always somebody willing to provide them with some DNA. I don't know why, okay? I have no answer as to why. We're going to have to get a fucking crystal ball out. Long story short, they treat these girls like absolute shit. No surprise there. They chuck the little one off, Jamaria's little sister, and send her to live with her paternal grandmother, because according to Taishal and Lawan, you know, and I'm sorry, I know names are individual, but Lawan, Taishal, when they have these hood names, just know what it is. It's going to be what it is. But they send her to live with the little baby sister. I think she's like 2-3 years younger than Jamaria. With Lawan's mama, right? The reason being because she's causing problems in their relationship. The little child, right? We come to find out that they were having problems getting the social security checks for the girls, right? So was she actually causing problems, or was it like, well, fuck, we got to deal with 2 while we still waiting for this to come through? Okay, let's check one of them off with my mama, so we'll just have to deal with the one, so that when that one comes around, we'll get that one. Or maybe it seemed like they would get the check for Jamaria first, so they're like, let's just get this little fucker out of here, and then when her paperwork comes through, we'll bring her on back, or we'll say we did, right? This is just what my mind imagines. Okay? So now Jamaria is in a situation where she's got a father who's there, but mostly not, mostly out chasing whatever. Living in the house with Taishal, right? And her 4 children, who she is systematically programmed to hate and attack Jamaria, with instructions from her father saying, make her run in place, make her do chairs against the wall, make her do push-ups, make her run up and down the stairs like she's a fucking Marine, like she's trying to be an Army Ranger, like she's trying to be a part of fucking Delta Force, an 8-year-old girl, right? So Taishal and her daughters are basically like the what is it, the godmother, the ugly stepsisters or some shit, some sort of Cinderella shit. They're Cinderella-ing the fuck out of this kid. Anything that happens is Jamaria's fault. Lying, making up bullshit. Let's fast forward. This woman, Taishal, had a Rottweiler named Seven. And what they have video evidence of, and this speaks to the IQ of these hood boogers, right? Because this is you recording your own shit in your house, right? Taishal sicks this dog, this Rottweiler, this big-ass Rottweiler, on this little 8-year-old girl. Grabs her by the side of the head. She has to go get stitches. The dad takes her to the hospital. I'm very surprised by that. You would think the nigga would have just been like, hey, drink some 7-Up and lay down. But, you know, so I guess he had some humanity in him. He took her to the hospital. The wounds were so egregious that she had to have stitches. Sad, right? This little girl, they have footage of her being kicked, punched, and the woman, Taishal, stomping on her head, okay? They have an image of her, or video of her, I should say, right? Being made to run in place while physically weak and ill, being made to run in place, okay? And then Taishal comes up behind her and kicks the hell out of this little girl. Spartan kicks her in the back, which causes her to flip over a bag of dog food and sprain her ankle. There are also burn injuries to this child, this 8-year-old girl who had just lost her mom. and lost her sister as her sister was shipped off. I wonder if the sister was the truth teller, and I wonder if the little sister was standing up for herself and her sister, her older sister, and I wonder if she was the one who had a fire inside, and they were like, that's how we go to jail right there. Got to get rid of that fucker, in addition to not getting any money off of her. Because what are these little fuckers here for if we're not making money? We're not trying to nurture these motherfuckers or, shepherd them in a loving way through their hour of grief. We're here to get paid off these people, so we don't need no truth tellers. We don't need no scapegoats in here who are going to rise up and point out the evil and the bullshit. We don't want that. So get this little heifer out of here, right? Long story short, about a week before this little girl passed away, they took her on a cruise, I believe to the Bahamas. And during that cruise, because of all the physical abuse and torture and the hitting and the kicking and the verbal abuse and, hey, you little bitch, come over here, and talking to her like a dog while her heart is broken, while her mother is just passed away, not even cold in the earth yet, right? Okay? They take her on this trip. She's weak. She's ill during the trip. A story was told that, they have those little kid places where you can sign your kid in, and then you can go on the cruise ship and do adult things while your kid's signed in and they're minding your kids. It's basically like a child care center within the ship. They made up some bullshit saying that this little girl checked herself out of childcare, because that makes sense, because any reputable company is going to allow a minor to check themselves out. She's 8-9 years old, right? And let's say she checks herself out and falls overboard. Guess who's getting sued? So that never happened. Tyshell spins this yarn, this story. She says, oh, well, she checked herself out and she was just wandering around the deck, and she pulled her shirt up and flashed the little boy, and they had to call security. And my first thought was, well, that sounds like horse shit. If you're a little kid doing sneaky shit, you kind of keep it low key, right? I did some sneaky shit back in the day. I don't know if you did. But I kept it low key. I knew to not, you don't want to be in choppy waters when you're doing sneaky shit, right? So she's not walking around looking for Mardi Gras beads, okay? And also I would ask, what would she be showing at 8 or 9? What would she be showing? You're not developed then. Very few girls are just popping out at that point. She's a little baby. What's to show? How would she even have an awareness that that's something to do? This is not what a child's mind, this is not how a child's mind works, unless something was happening to her where somebody had introduced sexuality to her, right? So Tyshell spins this yarn that she's doing all this, she's doing all that, calls the dad up, because of course he's not there because he's a felon, and you can't leave certain places when you're a felon, because he's a recidivistic bum. And he's like, well, you tell her I'm gonna end her, right? And so Tyshell says that to the little girl. Lo and behold, we find out that the reason Tyshell was signed out of the class was because the people that were running the daycare called up Tyshell and said, your daughter seems really sick and really unwell, and she might benefit from some medical attention. Can you come get your child? So Tyshell signed her out. And in fact, there is no record of a little boy being flashed on the cruise. Okay? So this is what the narcissist does. Just an aside, this is what the narcissist does. Notice, everything is blamed on this little girl. Notice there is character assassination of this little girl. Notice all these things. They talked about how this little girl would be incontinent. She would pee on herself. Okay? You know why kids do that? Fear and trauma. Imagine you live in a house with a crazy bitch, a big crazy dog, 4 ghetto-ass, stupid-ass sisters who are trying to compete to abuse you the worst, so that the queen bee and mama cannot do it to them, because that's probably what was happening, because you don't just become a child abuser overnight. Okay? So they leave this cruise. She has about 7 more days to live. They bring her home. They make up all these things about how this kid is overly interested in sexuality and all these things. They make up all these things. These are all things reported over the phone to the father, but never witnessed by him. So this guy just bought hook, line, and sinker the worst things about his daughter, his grieving daughter, and just took that to the bank. Took it to the bank. Oh, well, yeah, it sounds like her. Little 8-year-old whore, you know? Yeah, that sounds like my daughter, whom I really know nothing about, because again, I'm a recidivistic prick and I'm in jail a lot. So she's got 7 days to live. To wrap it up, one of the last videos they have, because again, these are very low IQ people, one of the last videos they have of an interaction between Tyshell and Jamaria is her kicking and stomping this child. Okay? Next day, Tyshell wakes up and Jamaria is cold to the touch and butt naked, because what a lot of these people like to do is make kids strip naked so they can feel ashamed. It also makes it so that if you hit them with a belt, they have no clothing to soften the blow. Okay? So this little girl got to live to 9 years old and pass away, not from one thing, not from two things, but from what the coroner is saying about this little girl's autopsy. She passed away, okay? It's basically like death from 1,000 cuts. There's blunt force trauma. There's skin interruptions. And worst of all, and I don't know how the hell they explain this, there is a lack of nipples. There are pinch marks that go deep down within the skin. So what this little girl's body was trying to do was heal, but it never had a chance to heal because they just kept inflicting more injuries. And what this little girl also had going on was severe dehydration and starvation. So her body didn't even have the fuel to help her heal, to help her bounce back. That's why she was sluggish during the cruise. She was passing away then. They just didn't know it. They just didn't know it. So, why do I talk about this? Well, one, Tyshell has been arrested because, again, these people committed these crimes on camera. So thank God for that. Thank God for stupid people. And she is basically gonna get that penalty that we all know she needs to get, right? Okay? If I say too many words, the video doesn't get, the circulation it needs. So I gotta, be careful. What is it? Lawan, who was a party to this and encouraged this, brutal attacks on his daughter, he was also charged with manslaughter. Okay? I think they both should be up for first degree, premeditated, because they both talked about it, came up with schemes of how to torture this girl. Here's my final point. This is why when you find like narcissistic borderline bullshit in your life, particularly if you are a child of one of these people, you have got to cut the cord. You have got to cut the cord, because this is an extreme case. Obviously, this is a very extreme case. Some of us have had little tastes of these things. Some of us have experienced more psychological and emotional. Some of us have experienced more physical, aggressive abuse. But understand, the seed is the same seed. Understand that as it goes forward, so you have one narcissist and they sire another narcissist. That evil is doubled. That evil is doubled unless somebody decides to get help. By the time they get to that third generation of narcissists, well, you might produce a Tai Shao. You might produce a Lawan. And the stakes are too high because Jamaria is gone, okay? Jamaria is not coming back, okay? And I have to say this. It's never one narcissist. There's never one narcissist, okay? I don't know if you watch Interview with the Vampire, right? This new show that's out. It's an old book series, but it's a new television program. And what one of these people said, these people that study vampires said, there's never one. There can never be one. The system that they undertake can't be undertaken by one. Without another one, they perish. And I would submit that's the same for the narcissist. Now, you had, of course, Lawan and Tai Shell. They're both narcissists. They're idiots. They cared nothing for these children. They wanted that check. When the check didn't come, I'm sure the whoopings and the accusations and the bullshit and the nonsense and the chest beating and all the ways these idiots tried to make themselves feel good by hurting a defenseless child who couldn't fight back increased, right? So you have those two. But let's also talk about Tai Shell's mother, right? Who I guess Tai Shell wanted to be like, because Tai Shell's mother, from what I understand, has 4 children in her house as well, and none of them are her biological children. They're all children who are children of other people who are failures at taking care of them, or who have had the children taken from them, and they signed over their rights to this lady because what she does is she appears as a good person. I'll take care of your babies. I'll do this. I'll do that. Why? Because there's a check associated with it. So much money goes through the hands of these people that the mom bought Tai Shell a house, okay, or had a second home for Tai Shell to live in with her 4 kids, and she bought the cruise tickets and all the plane tickets and XYZ. So this woman is flush with money. I didn't hear anything about any profession she had, or, oh, did she fucking retire from MIT? Was she on IBM's executive board? Didn't hear anything like that. So where is this bitch getting the money? Probably from these kids. So is it possible to assume that Tai Shell, who I'm sure was abused by this bitch, because where does this kind of evil come from? Right? There's nothing in me. I could never be so mad that I would take a dog and sick it on a child. I would never be so mad that I could take my fist and hit a little girl and kick her and Spartan kick her in the back and try to curb stomp her head and any of this other crazy shit. Right? So you gotta figure that Tai Shell went through some shit to create her, right? So now what we know is they travel in a pack. If you stay within this, if you stay within the narcissistic system, if you stay within a system of silence, if you stay within a system where there is acceptance of disgusting behavior, it will only beget more disgusting behavior. It will only produce people who are okay with disgusting behavior. And if you get away with little things, pretty soon you start to try to get away with bigger things. If you come from a culture of silencing children and dominating children as a means to feel better about yourself, and you have children, 9 out of 10, what are you gonna do? Unless you received help, unless you were the truth teller, or unless you were the scapegoat who saw it for what it was and got the fuck out. What else are you gonna do? This is why, and I used to say early on in this channel, oh, you shouldn't tell everybody to go no contact. I'm gonna tell you, if you see this shit and these people won't own up to their bullshit and get the help they need and take whatever medicine they gotta take, such as going to jail, such as losing rights to their children, or blah, 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 if they don't wanna do all that, go no contact. And even so, if you feel like they're just not worth a damn, go no contact. That's your right too. We have no contract that says we have to keep disgusting people in our lives. Now, I'm sorry for bringing up such a tough issue, right? But sometimes you have to use those things to really illustrate a point. This is on the far end of the continuum, the spectrum of narcissism, and look what it's produced. They didn't even have any sympathy for the fact that this little girl's heart was broken because her mom was gone. Imagine how alone that little girl felt. Many of us have felt alone in a house where we're targeted because, again, we're the truth teller. I'm going to fucking keep ringing that bell. We're the scapegoat. We're the different one. We're the one who's going to break it all down in the mind of this paranoid idiot, our abuser, right? Do you remember being alone like that? Do you remember being alone? Do you remember having your name dragged through the mud? Do you remember walking into a room and knowing that you were just being talked about, and the way people talk to you, how dismissive it is, how cutting it is? This is why we go no contact. This is why we go no contact, people.